So what are your current franchisee numbers?
At the moment, it's 960 active franchisees. I think collectively it's 998, but there's about 30 on suspended at the moment.
And how did the pandemic treat you guys?
Oh, it really affected us at the start. With the lockdown, Melbourne was locked down for about 3.5 months, so they couldn't work. People couldn't travel to come to Melbourne to do our induction training. So sales slowed down, work was almost not happening, there wasn't work coming through, but we acted really quick. So what Ali did is he engaged a SEO company, and we really invested into the online space there. And Jim's Group National Office was pretty quick too. They created an online training process. So we created these little hubs around the country. Back to normal.
What about the work leads?
Well, initially, obviously, they dried up, but then lately, 12 months into it, we're almost 50% more leads now than we were before the pandemic, which is awesome.
And how many franchisees are you roughly signing up a month?
It's about 25 new franchisees a month, which is a pretty big achievement, I think.
And what about your turnover as a group?
960 franchisees, we estimate it's around over 150 million per annum.
And you're growing at around, what number?
We're growing at 14%, and we've been growing since day one. I've been doing this for 20 years. Every single year we grow it, always double digits. So to keep growing it with a large number like that, again, something to be proud of.
So why do you think you're still growing?
We concentrate a lot on the one percenters. We keep improving what we do and increasing our presence online, which makes a difference. We're actively involved now in Facebook, Instagram, and we're just always out there. And for somehow, the more vans or trailers you have on the road, it somehow compounds. I don't know how that works, but it just does.
Let's talk about Jim as your mentor.
Oh yeah. Look, I watch every podcast that he makes. Ask Jim Live, every training session, I watch that religiously. I give him a call every now and then, or he gives me a call, and we just motivate each other. Look, the advice that he gives, it comes from experience and knowledge. Jim's got access to every division, every franchisee, so he's got like all these snippets of information that he puts together, and he comes up with an idea based on fact. Where someone on the outside might not agree with some of the things that he says, because they just don't know the knowledge that comes behind it. And as well as I do, Jim actions or views every complaint that comes into this business, and from the complaints he can actually get an idea of where we need improvement, where we don't have that access. So as a mentor, it's invaluable. And in fact, why do people join franchising, right? Franchising is to get information and knowledge from other people that have experienced things in the past or has access to different things that you don't have. That's franchising. So in my view, having Jim as a mentor is the ultimate franchise.
And what's the best bit of advice he's given you over your journey? Something that stands out in your head?
Well, the one that stands out is my email handling process. I get 50 to 100 emails a day, and in the past I used to just read them, and if it was a little bit difficult, I'd sort of diary it to do at a later date, and before I knew it, my emails would be banking up. And the advice that he gave me was, don't do it that way. As you read it, action it, or send it off to someone that can actually get it done for you. In fact, delegate. So that was probably the best one.
And you have 12 businesses? Maybe
yes.
About your businesses and what you're doing there.
Yeah, well, over the years they've just, most of the businesses were created from need. One of our businesses is our cleaning products, which came from the need of the insurance claims that we're having, and protecting the environment, because our chemicals are obviously environmentally friendly. So that evolved from that. Another business is we supply uniforms to our franchisees. That came about because we weren't getting the right pricing from people, or the quality just wasn't there. So that somehow became a business. And probably the biggest one that I can hang my hat to is our contracts department, which is a standalone business in itself. We've had that for about 3 years, and it's growing at a very fast. I think we're probably going to be able to give out at least $10 million worth of work to our franchisees, to every division. That includes mowing and dog wash, and that's working pretty well. And in fact, we've just purchased a warehouse, and we've got the builders coming in, and we're going to renovate that to be a standalone office for that department in itself. And the staff there keeps growing. We're up to our second bookkeeper now. And it's just exciting that we can create all that work for the Jim's group.
Now, where have you grown that from? When did you take it over?
It's been 3 years, and when we took it on, it was a department that was run by the Jim's group itself. And I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but it was pretty poorly run. Franchisees weren't getting paid, and the reason for that is most contracts, there could be a 30 to 60 day payment term from the customer, so you just can't pay the franchisee willy-nilly. But since we've taken it over, we have the policy where we pay all franchisees within 30 days. So in fact, that means we have to run on an overdraft, and our overdraft's probably close to $1 million now, $1 million. But it's worth it because we do respect the franchisees for helping us out to get that work done.
So you've taken contracts from 0 to 10 mil in 3 years. What's your plan for that department? You've mentioned the new warehouse. What do you think you can get?
Well, the sky's the limit with that one, really. But our goal at the moment is to try and at least bring in $1 million worth of work a week. That's the goal. And to that, we've actually employed or engaged a sales team to actively go out there and try and source some work proactively. Because at the moment, most of the growth that we've achieved, it's been reactive, where customers have called us and we were able to convert them into a regular client. But now we're going to aggressively go out there and try and get our own work.
Now, what's the feedback from the people who are using it?
It's been really good. Initially, it was hard because there was some problems in the past, but we've ironed all those out. We've increased the team, so the feedback's been really good. Yeah.
Now let's talk about you've taken over a new division, one of your newest acquisitions.
Sure. Jim's IT, which is the old Jim's Computer Services, which apparently was up to about 50 franchisees one day, and somehow it took a nosedive and lost market share, and the franchisees weren't happy, and they just slowly dropped off, unfortunately, and it dropped down to about 8 unhappy franchisees. So somehow that ended up on our table, but I had a bit of a secret weapon. We headhunted a experienced IT person, and we convinced him to jump on our team and help us develop this business. So the business got a name change. It's now Jim's IT, and 4 or 5 months into it, we're up to 21 franchisees, happy franchisees, and the work is starting to come through enough to satisfy everybody. And again, we see that business to be one of our fast-growing ones. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, there should be at least 100 franchisees. Hopefully.
And what were some of the things you did when you took it over to change that shift around? You've mentioned the new division, like new person coming to manage it, but what are some other things?
Well, we had to listen to the franchisees and see exactly what the problems were, and one by one, find a solution to fix that. One of the biggest things was there just wasn't enough work coming in. So, and there was money being spent online to try and generate that work, but Google advertising, it's a very complex space. You really need to sit down and analyse how the customers look for that particular service, and we're able to work out that some keywords had changed, or customers, the way they look for that work changed. So we had to basically change with that, and it's actually made a big difference.
Now let's talk about your ideas. So you've got 12 businesses, where do these ideas come from? How do you go about making them a reality?
Well, it's interesting you ask that question, because I think it's a bit weird. And people that know me, they know that every house that I own, it's always connected to a freeway. It's very interesting. And each house that I own is about 30 minutes away from work, right? So the best ideas that I come up with is when to and from work, which is a straight road, which is the freeway, my music's blaring, and my mind's just racing, and in that half an hour is where it all happens.
What's an example maybe you can give of something that's happened in the car and you've actually made it into a business?
Well, like I said, most things come from that.
Is there a recent one? Is it like the uniforms one of those, or?
Well, the recent stuff that goes through my mind is Jim's Plus, which is, a business that started from selling excess leads to independents, which initially seemed we felt uncomfortable with that, but now analysing it and understanding the process of it, or the damage that does happen from unserviced jobs. Like to have 240,000 unserviced jobs per annum is just so damaging to the business, it's not funny. So just those kind of ideas that I think about, and I've got some ideas that I'm trying to present to Jim, and hopefully make that even better and better. Yeah.
Now you've got 80 regions under your banner. Maybe you want to tell people what a region is first, and you've got the most in the Jim's group.
Sure. Well, initially when we did our business planning, we knew that we needed area managers to help us support franchisees locally, and I think the old terminology for that was master franchises was the word. In the Jim's group we call it regional franchise. So we went to market, we sold a lot of regions, cheap, just to have the presence so we can actually comfortably sign on new franchisees. And then, over the years that's grown to 80 regionals, and some of those have been very, very successful, and we've been able to support many, many franchisees from that. But we've also found that some of those regionals that we chose or partnered with, unfortunately it's just not working out. The Jim's group has evolved over the 20 years that I've been with Jim's. And it's a very, very different business than it was 20 years ago. So things have to change, and unfortunately sometimes those regional franchisors have to change.
So what is the strategy you're looking at regarding buying back?
Well, anyone that's not achieving what they want to achieve from this business, or what we expect that can be achievable, we're happy to take those regions back and buy them back, and run them through our processes through this office. And in fact, coincidentally, last month we bought 3 regions back, and we also convinced Jim Penman himself to invest in the business, and he's actually bought one of the regions himself, which I think is a bit of an honour for me to have Jim as one of my franchisors.
I was going to say, you're the boss now.
Correct. Yes.
How's that feel?
Yeah, and he's pretty good. He's only had it for a month. I think he's got 1 or 2 sales from that region already. Yeah.
You're going to invoke the growth clause?
For sure, of course. Yeah, and that's something that's been in the contracts for years, and we really don't push that growth clause, but we're going to unfortunately start looking at that. Yeah.
And that's just obviously due to the unserviced work.
Definitely unserviced work. Another thing is we actually get a lot of interest to buy our franchises. We probably get 5,000 franchise inquiries per annum, and to only sell 300 or 400 of them, that's less than 10%. I think we can do better there. I think people are inquiring, but they're possibly not getting the information that they really need. And look, everyone buys on different stages, or we just need to be able to deliver the sales process to everyone. Everyone buys differently, and we just got to get good at that.
You've been in the gyms for 20 years now, so why do you keep doing it? Because obviously you don't need the money. Like, you could sell up and you'd be no problem at all. So why do you keep doing this business?
Well, certainly it's not hard, because I actually enjoy what I do, and in fact I do spend a lot of time thinking about my business or talking about my business. And most people that know me, 80% of our conversations is to do about business. but it's not a chore for me. I actually enjoy it. So that's why I keep doing it, because I do enjoy it. And secondly, I think we've got so many people connected into this business now. 960 franchisees, which are actually 960 families with their loans or whatever they may have in their life. I think I feel some sort of obligation to make sure that this vehicle satisfies their needs, and I know it does, and that motivates me.
How many different nationalities do you reckon you have in that playing group? You probably the most, I reckon.
Yeah, true. I think we've got a representation from every nationality, which is awesome. From who knows, Chinese to Vietnamese to Turkish, Indian. It's great.
As a business, is it a great option, do you think, for new Australians if they want to? Do you think it's probably the easiest way in gyms to do, or what do you?
It's definitely one of the easiest.
Yeah.
And it kind of suits new immigrants because, most new immigrants come to Australia for a new life and to better their life. Our franchise can actually give them that. There's lots of money to be made. The service, you really don't need much training. We're all sort of conditioned to clean, and vacuuming, mopping is not that complex. It suits anyone, but for some reason, new Australians seem to embrace it a little bit better.
Now, is there a good story or an example of a new Australian you can think who's just come with basically nothing and to where they've built a business with Jim's Cleaning Group? Alvin Wang? Alvin?
Yeah, Alvin, I think when he joined us, he was renting perhaps, and I think he was living with his mother. So within a short space of time, he was able to save enough money to buy his own house, moved out with his wife, had a few extra kids. That was a good story. The best stories are where a partner would come, one would buy the business and comment that maybe as the business takes off, their wife or husband might come in later, but we find that they come in within a couple of weeks because there's just so much work. So then they work husband and wife or mother and daughter or whatever it might be. So it becomes like a little bit of a family business.
What's the biggest business you know of in Jim's Cleaning Group that someone's managed to build with employees?
Yeah, one franchise that I know of, he was turning over way over $1 million per annum with over 15 staff. And he did that, within 5 years of owning the business. Definitely.
There's no restrictions from gyms at all. How big
No.
can you grow, is there?
We support that. We help as much as we can. I mean, we're happy to even help training. Our induction training program for new franchisees is actually designed where you can actually send your employees to be able to, to be comfortable that those people are trained, not only in business but in OH&S. That's part of our training as well. So we actually support franchisees having employees.
And what's the what to you makes a good franchisee? What's the number one character trait or the character traits that you think makes a good franchisee?
Someone who is happy. It's about the customer, to satisfy the customer. They're not just working for the money side of things, because a happy customer will, refer you to others, call you back, and then when they do want you back, they're happy for you to slot them in for when it fits you. Whereas if you get a new lead, you're basically governed by whatever the new person wants, what time that they can fit you in. So someone who's not really doing it for the money.
And what's your plan for the next 20 years? So you've just done 20 years, so what's your plan for the next 20?
I just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm really enjoying what I do. I've built a very good business life from this, a very good personal life. I take regular holidays. In fact, I incorporate my holidays into visiting our franchisees. And in fact, next week I'm going to Darwin to visit some franchisees, but at the same time have a holiday as well. So my point there is, I think I'm stuck here for the next 20 years. There's nowhere to go. I mean, there's nothing better than this.
And what's your number one best business tip or bit of advice you can give someone out there maybe watching this who's stuck in a job or something, or what's the one thing you want to...
Well, one of my famous mottos is keep punching, which means, You know, it's not all roses. Sometimes there's going to be the dips. It could be business or personal life, whatever. Just keep punching, because you know you're going to get back through and climb back up there. So just keep punching.
And how can someone find out more about Cleaning Group or inquire? Or?
Sure, we have a website, jimscleaning.com.au, or you can email me direct, haydar@jimscleaning.net.au.